Hello and welcome back to Homegrown Theater Camp. I'm your director Mackenzie, and today in rehearsal we will find how our characters move, learn how to cast a spell, and start blocking the play. But before all that, we're going to begin with warm-ups. Now that we're in performance mode, we're going to be doing warm-ups before rehearsal every day. Now these warm-ups help us get our minds and bodies and voices ready for the rehearsal of the day. We've made a special video of our routine for warm-ups here. It's probably best right now if you just go and watch that video and then come back to this one. But don't worry, eventually you'll have these warm-ups and their routine memorized, no problem. So while you warm up, I'm going to try to decide my top 3 favorite flags. Okay. My current ranking goes the Isle of Man, Cyprus, and Brazil's Federal District. So now that we're done with warm-ups and we have that settled, we can move into our movement exercise. I'm going to share with you an exercise to help you find how your character moves. 2 of my friends, Raimy and Kaedyn, who also happen to be great actors, are going to help us with demonstrating this exercise as well. For this exercise, it might help to have a larger space that you can walk around in, but anywhere that you can walk is just fine. To begin the exercise, simply walk around your space normally. Notice if there's anything special about your walk. Now, with those things in mind, try to walk completely neutrally. Make sure that as you step, your feet are shoulder width apart, your back is straight, and you move with nice, even strides. Now just walk neutrally for a minute. See how that feels. Now we're going to start leading our walks with particular parts of the body. So we're going to start by leading with our heads. So make sure that as you step, your head is the furthest thing out. It should be the first thing as you walk. And really accentuate that. Don't just make your head a little bit in front of your stride, but put it out there a lot. Just walk leading with your head for a minute and think about how that feels. After you've done that, return back to neutral. And now we're going to start by leading with our chest. So make sure your chest is the first thing out there as you walk. Really accentuate that. Push your chest as far out as it can go and walk following it. Think about how that feels. Good. Now return back to neutral. And we're going to lead from our guts now. So take your gut, push it out as far as it can go, and lead from your gut. Just walk that way. Now, we're going to return back to neutral again, and we're going to lead from our hips. So push your hips out and lead from them, with everything else following your hips. Good. So now that you have an idea of what each of those feels like, you can start to think about what sort of a character would lead from each of these places. How did you feel when you were leading from your head or your chest or your hips? Now think about the characters in The Sword in the Stone. Think about the one that you're playing, or the multiple ones that you're playing. Where would they lead from? Play around. walk as that character and lead from different parts of your body. And once you've done that, decide which character leads from which place. You can accentuate it or dial it back where the character leads from as much as you need to, but make sure that each of your characters is distinct and different. After doing this exercise, here's a version of Arthur's walk that Raimy came up with, leading from the chest. And here's a version of Merlin's walk that Kaedyn came up with, leading from the head. Explore using this exercise and make your own choices about how your characters walk and move. And once you have where the character leads from decided, you can go forward and decide how they walk, move, act throughout the entire play. Now onto magic. Not real magic. I wish it was real magic, but it's just pretend magic. There are a few spells cast throughout the show, a couple by Merlin and one by the evil Anku. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to be looking at that evil spell. Now the spell has 3 parts. When you have a line that's a list of items or terms, you want to make sure that you accent each of those terms differently. So if I was saying milk, eggs, or butter, I would want to say it like this: milk, eggs, and butter. See how each of those terms is different. The same goes here. Each part of the spell is different, but because it's a spell, we want it to build to something at the end. Immortue exercitus natus.
Immortue exercitus natus.
Now if you take that little principle of vocals and combine it with the movement exercises we did earlier, you've got a pretty convincing magical character. I'm Mackenzie Davenport. Homegrown Theater Camp has given me this time to talk about something that we both care a lot about: lines. Lines are the essential building block of the theatrical world. Think about this. Many of you out there now believe that you don't need to learn your lines until the night before the performance. Do you realize that by then you've already lost important rehearsal time that you could be spending working on other parts of the play? When you don't memorize your lines, you're only cheating yourself out of the chance to find out how good your play can really be. And believe me, if you memorize your lines, it can be pretty good. Listen, you've got a few days until the performance. That's plenty of time to learn your lines. So don't blow it. Don't forget about them. If you are forgetting about them, stop it. Get your script. Homegrown Theater Camp wants you to give yourself a chance to see how good your performance can really be. And so do I. So now that you've decided how your character moves, you can start moving. Where and when you move on stage is called blocking. You guessed it, we made a video about that too. And you guessed it, you need to watch it. With the info in that video, you can start blocking your play. The stage directions give you some hints as to where and when your character is supposed to be at any given time, but the main way that you'll find your blocking is by trying out the scenes in your rehearsal space and trying multiple different variations. So, for instance, try one scene where Arthur is upstage standing, and then try another where he's downstage sitting, and then try one where he's stage right. After you've tried out multiple ways of every scene, figure out which one feels right for you, and then write it down in your scripts using the blocking notation that we gave you. And then stick to it. After this video, it might take you a few runs to find blocking that you like, but that's okay. The more times you practice or run a scene, the more polished it will be for your audience at the end of the week. Now you can get on with your independent work. You've got an exercise on character movement to do, you know how to practice pretend magic, and you know how to start the process of blocking your play. Tomorrow we'll be focusing on vocals, but until then, good luck and learn your lines. Thank you for watching Homegrown Theater Camp. You can subscribe to join the cast and download the script from our website. Follow us on Instagram and let us know if you have any questions during your rehearsal. Homegrown Theater Camp is produced by Blixt Locally Grown, with support of the Nebraska Arts Council, the Nebraska Cultural Endowment, the Pearle Francis Finigan Foundation, Union Bank and Trust, and generous individual donors.